Hello, everyone. This is Ed Breniger, and welcome to the Eddie Network podcast. My guest today is Arthur Larson, and I'm going to let her tell you what she does. I think I know what she does, but I'm going to let her tell you. It's really important, and we're going to talk about some of those things that are involved in what she does. So, welcome, Martha. Glad you're here, and thank you for all the good work that you do for our community.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for having me on today. I'm excited to chat with you a little bit. So I am the director of the Small Business Center at Forsyth Tech Community College. Um, Small business centers are throughout the state. We are housed at each of the 58 community colleges, and our centers are funded by the state of North Carolina. So that makes us a little bit different than some of the centers that most states actually have that are funded by the SBA. The Small Business Center helps to support small business owners, and we define small business very broadly, all the way up to 100 employees and making, seven figures. But typically what we do is we help the small of the small business owner that doesn't have the resources to have that team around them that are so significant for business operations. And we help by having one-on-one counseling through myself. We have a small business specialist and our team of mentors. We have business training opportunities that can be workshops on a variety of topics, and then we can have referrals. And that to me is one of the most important aspects of what I do. I love to connect our clients with other clients that could potentially partner and collaborate, but also it's kind of my job to know what resources and who in the Forsyth and Stokes County that are important for business owners to know.
Well, I think it's great that the state funds this work. It's I've been involved in these kinds of organizations across the country over my career, and they're not some of them I would say have a uh, not always a clear purpose, and but I think that what I see of the small business centers at the community colleges in North Carolina, there is a really clear purpose as to what you all are doing.
Yeah, we measure our impact by the number of startups, the number of small businesses that are operating in our coverage areas, and the number of jobs either created or retained due to small business help. So we want to see businesses not only start but stay in business and thrive. So that comes in many days, in many ways. People ask, well, what do you do on a typical day? And I say a typical day is dictated by the appointments that I have and the clients that I talk with or the meetings that I have. So it's definitely very different.
So I have so many questions for you, but let me ask you a couple of practical ones. So over the past year, how many businesses have you worked with? Do you have that in mind? Do you have that kind of number?
Well, we have what we call active clients. There are
Uh-huh.
over 200 active clients, and that means
Wow.
people who have registered for counseling and people that have gotten some sort of counseling through us. We also have over 1,000 people who we have engaged through our business training events. So it just depends on how you define engagement, but we
Yeah.
kind of strive to have counseling that kind of equates to that hands-on help for small business owners.
So how many, kind of roughly speaking, how many of these small businesses are relatively new, say a year or two, and they've started and now all they said, I just don't know everything I need to know, and so they come to you to get some help. How many are like that?
I would say the breakdown would be that we work with about 50% of startups,
Uh-huh.
Once they get started, oftentimes we kind of lose them a little bit because people are in the day-to-day, operations and struggles.
Yep.
Then we can get them back whenever they're in a point of transition. So it could be adding employees, they're trying to add a service or a product, they're trying to get a storefront location, and that type of thing. So a lot of times we work with startups primarily, but then our message is that we can help with operations in any point in time, but especially if there's a transition or if there should be a transition. So we have mentors in subject specialties like legal, human resources, accounting and bookkeeping, finance, and marketing. So we can certainly help with growth as well as startup.
That's amazing that you got all those different ways of serving this community.
Mm-hmm.
Are there, I know this is probably just something that's on the top of your mind. Are there businesses that you feel like are underrepresented in the community, that we need more of these particular kinds of businesses?
I think, well, I can tell you what we don't need.
Okay, let's go there.
Day-to-day food-based business, and I'm saying day-to-day like, being able to look around and seeing that we have 20 of the same type of generic food-based business. We don't have very many ethnic cuisine business like food-based businesses. We do have great catering businesses here, but to me, there's only a handful that are really experienced, really know how to operate that type of business, because that's a hard business. Any type of food-based business is.
Yes, it is.
And we partner with the culinary program at Second Harvest Food Bank through the Forsyth Tech. We partner with them to give the culinary students business education, because it's so important. Even if one of their students is not going to have their own restaurant at this point, I feel it's important for them to have buy-in and to understand what the restaurant owner is going through. People may, start working in that area and not understand how much it costs to operate a restaurant or food truck and that type of thing. But so I feel like we don't need any more food-based businesses starting from people who really aren't experienced in that area. We have.
What's the life cycle of a food-based business where the person that's starting it has a dream, but not maybe much experience? What does it start? Does it take about a year for them to kind of run the cycle?
Yes, and sadly, it can be about a year before they decide whether they can actually make it or not. And because it costs more than people can imagine. So that's why we love to catch clients early so that we can go over that startup budget and have them trained on all the expenses that are involved with that type of business.
Yeah.
The number one hardship that we're seeing right now is people, our staff problems. And so whenever I get confronted by someone that wants to open a restaurant, a daycare, any kind of nursing business like home care, I say, do you have an outlet for staffing? Do you know people or whatever? I said, that's going to be your number one issue.
So do you work with and I'm thinking about young people and them finding employment, and them being prepared to be employed and prepared to work.
Mhm.
Do you work with the city and county schools to? I would have. I'm guessing that there used to be when I was. I mean, we're going back to ancient history. Um, they would there'd be programs at the schools for small business. There'd be business. I forget what it was called. There'd be business classes, and there would be shop classes, mechanics classes. These would be classes that would be preparing people to go into the workplace. They were probably not orienting those students to go to college, but they were going to be much more kind of labor oriented kind of businesses. Do you all work with the schools in that regard with those kinds of jobs? And
We don't work with the Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools that much. We do work with our various departments of the college. I like to, kind of keep in touch with faculty of positions or curriculum that I perceive that would be a business automatically, almost as they walk out the door. So, engine mechanics, welders, and because a lot of them may operate as a 1099, and therefore, even though they're probably being treated like an employee, but if they're 1099, they're a business. They're their own self-employed business. So there's a lot that they need to know about taxes and money management and that type of thing. So we're not really into the schools so much, but we're certainly working with students.
And do you see? I have all these questions. Do you see a growth in the number of students who are coming to Forsyth Tech to get skills that make them employable, and as opposed to them um, going going off to local college or university and getting a liberal arts degree or a science degree? Or how does that? What's the landscape look like in the community today? And I'm really, let me kind of fill this in. I'm really thinking about what has transpired since the pandemic, when everybody, so many people found that they no longer had a job, so they had to change. They had to figure out, what am I going to do? Many of them are now working from home. So, what's your perception of what's happening with that environment of young people being employed, and where they're going to get prepared to do that?
Sure. So we have good enrollment numbers now, and they're kind of across the board. They might be in the trades, that they might be getting a certification so that it's that quick kind of turnaround. I can in 8 months, 6 months, a year, go out and be employed. But remember, these are not just people coming out of high school. These are adults that are getting re-educated and that kind of thing too. We're also seeing a lot of awareness of how much universities cost. So through the community college, we can do that gen ed kind of curriculum, so that they can kind of save on that transfer to a four-year institution.
Does the North Carolina system? I mean, I remember when my three children went. We homeschooled until they were 16, and then they went to the community college for their last 2 years of high school. And what we found was that a number of those kids, they do 2 years of the community college, get their high school degree, and also get their associate's degree, and then they would be eligible to go into any of the UNC system schools. Is that still sort of an automatic? You're accepted because you now have a degree from one of the community colleges? Do they still have that sort of thing?
They're eligible to apply. I don't know that they're automatically accepted.
Okay.
It is highly competitive, but yes.
Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds, I mean, we've kind of gotten off of the small business thing, but I see that one of the things that young people um, should be considering is how do they work for themselves and how do they start their own businesses um, and I'm not really thinking about social media businesses, but I'm really thinking about things that serve the community, starting, uh, you know, whether they're a mechanic or well, they could be a social media consultant. They could be stuff like do this kind of thing.
or they could be employed as a social media marketer, and that's a viable job. And I work with several people that do that. But yes, I mean, the message that I like to give about entrepreneurship is that entrepreneurship to me is relevant broadly. You don't have to be prepared to go start a business. Matter of fact, I like to suggest that whatever business someone may be interested in, that they actually go work in that business first. So if,
Yeah.
if you don't have the luxury of having a family-owned business or an aunt and uncle or parent who actually has their own business, it's a whole different world. And so I oftentimes say that having an entrepreneurial background can be helpful in any phase of life, whether it's your education or whatever, because it's all about being resourceful and understanding the key aspects of your life, whether it's money management, whether it's branding or marketing yourself, speaking well, planning, and things like that. So I kind of perceive entrepreneurial education in a broad sense.
I know that I've had some interactions with the people over at Flywheel, and they're
Mhm.
looking at bigger businesses there. They're global businesses. But are there funding sources like venture capital type funding sources for small business startups here in Winston-Salem, County?
There are, as a matter of fact, um, the Winston-Salem ecosystem is vast. You know that by working with Flywheel. We have a lot of different organizations, and
Right.
I'm a part of a smaller, what we call strategic doing group. And we were charged with the task of coming up with a doable and an impactful project. And we're actually going to start this spring um, doing a project that we're calling um, capital coaching. And it's all about workshops and having counseling opportunities that provide tangible skills. So our first one is going to be on grants. Grants in our area, especially for startups, are few and far between, but there are some periodically. And so we are going to provide a workshop after we have a couple of events in February, so probably be this spring, to really actually have the opportunity to not only give some business training on grants, but to sit down with people and work on successful grant applications. And then, kind of our job or my job is to know what types of funding opportunities are out there. And I work with clients and help to match them with those opportunities.
And your office just covers Forsyth County, correct?
We work with businesses in Forsyth and Stokes.
Oh, you do it. Awesome. That would make sense. I've had some involvement over in Wilkes County with their small business center, and so I have a sense of what you all are doing. Um, if if there is, let's say, a 15-year-old high school student who happens to be watching this, and I would hope that there might be some, what would you say to them about how they should prepare themselves if the possibilities of them starting a business, say 5 years, 10 years out, what is it that they need to know in order for them to successfully start a new business?
Sure. So number one is know the industry that they're interested in. If you're interested in selling flowers, then like I said earlier, go work in a flower shop and go learn about uh, the vendor opportunities and who you have to work with. Um, Start to learn about business, whether it's theoretical or whatever, but as you're learning about business, learn about who you need to be involved with. A business owner does not do it on their own. They need to have a team of people, whether it's an advisory committee, whether they're working through an organization such as the Small Business Center, or whether they have the resources to hire attorneys, accountants, and that kind of thing. There's no one who needs to know everything, right? So you've
Right.
really got to learn how to collaborate and how to pick and choose who's important in that world. So if it's retail, if it's food, if it's technology or whatever, start to get those uh, relationships.
Do you all work with nonprofit organizations?
We do. I was just talking with a partner this morning, and my theory and the message to nonprofits is you need to function like a business. You need to make a profit. You need to operate efficiently and be productive. The difference between the nonprofit world is you need to know the tax implications and filing requirements and regulations around operating as a nonprofit.
It's a bit more complicated, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. I've been there. I've, I've been on both sides of that business world. Uh, so where do you see the business climate in Winston-Salem growing, improving? Is it and where is it growing? I mean, it sounds like there's people who want to start restaurants, but where is it going in the larger sense of changes in the community?
Sure. So we all hear about these big companies, right? That economic development wants to see some big, 1,000 employee, type of company come in. The people who really do well are people who become aware of what business that's tangent to those companies and how to
Uh-huh.
serve those companies. Because those are a lot of the corporate organizations that have resources to have third-party landscapers, third-party coaching, third parties training us for their employees, third-party housekeeping and stuff like that. So to
Yeah.
really be aware, like you said, of what's going on, to be knowledgeable about economic development updates and efforts, and to um, coordinate somehow and to learn what other businesses might be serving those companies in other areas. So, I'm a librarian in my past, and I have research in my heart. So I'm big on people researching and planning for things out of the ordinary.
I totally agree with you. I think those the edge there on change is where a lot of new things can come, and but you have to be looking for it. You have to learn how to see the opportunities, and then begin to figure out how to make those opportunities work for you. Yeah.
Correct. Right.
So for the people of our community here, Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, what is it that you would like them to know in terms of what they can do for you in the small business center? What is it that
Oh,
you need the public to help you on?
yeah. So, the small business center, just like a business owner, doesn't operate by ourselves. It's great for us to have resources, for us to have subject specialists as experts, as mentors, and for us to have the opportunities to know what's going on, And so I certainly welcome learning about opportunities that might be available, learning about new funding opportunities. And so that's why we as the ecosystem, you know, get together and for us to know what each other is doing. Um, but, I certainly love referrals early. If people, know someone who's mentioned starting a business or whatever, I mean, it's great to get, connected, whether it's through our events or one-on-one counseling. And then also to not have a stigma that asking for help is a sign of weakness. And that's something that the small business centers and other, kind of ecosystem partners kind of deal with because there's no expectation that someone who starts a business knows everything, and unless Grounder has that person that's in their life that has that business background, is in business operations background. So there's no stigma with asking for help. As a matter of fact, in my mind, it's smart to actually do that.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Well, I think it's a key organization for the community because it's a place that people can pass through to get information and help to strengthen their their businesses, their communities, their. I mean, that's when I started my consulting. You'll love this. Yeah, when I started consulting practice in 1995, I had never been a consultant and never run a business. I didn't know anything other than I knew how to solve problems and I knew how to talk to people. And it would have been very helpful to have spent some time with a small business center at that point in time, and I would have learned some things that would have helped me 5 years down the road. Um, but but now I know them from experience and not simply by having a good consultant consult with me. So
Right.
so I believe in what you're doing. I really do, and I think it's important, and um, will support you in whatever way I can because I think it's a very valuable, um, I guess, catalyst for strengthening the community. And
Right. I appreciate that, Ed. And something that I don't think that I've mentioned yet is our services are free. So
oh yeah,
whether it's just the counseling period, that's free, basically free in our events. But we can even help to fund professional services. So if we can't give grants directly to a business, but we can affect the bottom line by funding, legal services or human resources services and things like that. I've gotten people partnered with uh, QuickBooks trainers, or I've had an operating agreement created by one of our attorney mentors, and things like that. So these are ways that we can help us a business start or make a transition without laying out so many funds for that.
I think that's really needed, and I think that's great. Well, I thank you for joining me today. And we'll certainly share this, around the community. There'll be, I've started a playlist on the podcast, on the YouTube podcast, a YouTube playlist of just the persons of impact here in Winston-Salem. So you'll be a part of that stellar group of people that continue to grow over the next couple of years. And so, and if at some point in time you feel like there's something that you'd like a wider audience to know about what you all are doing, get in touch with me. We'll do another episode of the podcast so that you can talk about things that maybe other groups and other communities need to hear, and that way you're sharing your knowledge and your wisdom uh, beyond just the community we're in.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to get the word out, to share this with others, because, it's great for me. It's great for the Small Business Center in general to have people aware of us, and me to get connected with other folks. So I hope that happens through this.
I hope so too. Well, thank you, Martha, for being with us today, and thank you all for watching. Please sign up, hit the like button, and leave a comment if you will, because I'm always interested in hearing what you think about our conversations here. And we'll see you next time here on the Eddy Network podcast. Bye.